But Stash the Forbidden Blogger, back to you as I promised. Just what all my followers, and actually I guess I got 1,200 something such followers. I don't know how many tune in regularly. I don't get much feedback, so I guess, I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm doing with YouTube. I admit to that. But I hope you guys are enjoying my YouTubes. And I do them old style, straight to blog, and with no editing, which probably isn't a great idea. But also, you can turn on my YouTubes and probably fall asleep. So that's pretty good. It's kind of almost like an ASMR thing. But you know that I always talk about almost annoyingly strange, obscure topics. As promised, I'm going into the Stasi. So this is going to be part one of my series on the Stasi. The spy service of East Germany, which no longer exists, because I guess they sort of lost the Cold War. It was a battle between capitalism and communism, and the capitalism won out. For now. Unless you think the capitalism here now in the States and Europe is so bad, is so intense, that maybe it's almost getting as bad as communism. Am I supposed to admit that? No. Drifting and getting in deep here. Let's go back to the Stasi. So the Stasi in the Cold War, I think they're greatly underestimated for their ability, historically speaking. For one thing, one of the finest spies of the Cold War was Marcus Wolf, the so-called man without a face, who John Le Carre says his character of Carla. Actually, if you see Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, the series, it's played by Captain Picard, whose name escapes me. Anyway, Captain Picard, y'all love him from Star Trek. He plays Carla, the brilliant spy of the Stasi, and he was legendary in that he had like 5,000 spies working for him in the West. So he got everything. He got everything. And one of his infamous techniques was to send in handsome guys, aka Romeos, right? And there were women had these, were placed in important jobs in the West, in embassies or in the government, and they didn't, have much contact with men because they were working in this, I guess, in places where only guys worked. So he capitalized on this, and he sent guys in, and they got somebody highly placed. I think her name was Gilda, in the American embassy, and they had somebody who was working directly for the prime minister, and so they scored. It's a sad story about those women. They got really betrayed. However, it was tense from the beginning, and the U.S. had nothing. The society was closed down. There was the wall. The Americans tunneled underneath, and they had a wall, and they were going to tap in the lines and listen. The East German security and the KGB, I think you pronounce it KGB, right? I know what I'm talking about. Kinda. They discovered it early on, allegedly due to a guy with the British. I think he was with the British. Yeah, Blake. Guy named Blake. Guy with the beard, Blake. They nailed us on that, and it was back and forth. I mean, the place was going to starve out, and the Americans actually had a early victory after the wall in the form of the airlift. So those pilots busted their ass, and they saved Berlin in the Berlin airlift. But it was a battle of the espionage. Marcus Wolf, the man without a face, he was actually interviewed about Putin. He said maybe he was a loser because I didn't know him. But then he said, well, maybe that means he's good because he kind of slept in under the radar. I don't know. Certainly, certainly he's been good for Russia in the sense that he's popular. In fact, I read something by Amy Knight early on who said he's never going to make it. His popularity, he's about 80% popularity over there. It's unheard of. He's the most popular president in the world. I digress. Away from Putin for a moment, because the next one I'm going to do is about probably my if any of my vlogs are worthwhile or mean something to me personally. I'm going to do one about warning about Russia, the old Cold War, and I believe with Professor Stephen Cohen and other experts that we're, Chomsky, even Noam Chomsky, that we're in a dangerous time with Russia still, and we need to cool it. That's going to be my next vlog. But anyway, back to the Stasi. All 5 people listening, enjoy my Stasi vlog now. I really wanted to be more lucid for this, but whatever. So, the man without a face. Marcus Wolf. 5,000 or more guys under him. The Stasi itself, I think, had something like 90,000 personnel, and they had like 180,000 informants working for them. I believe so it was something like for 1 out of every 166 persons, there was a Stasi agent directly working under them. They did things like collect people's clothing and scents for dogs. They had files on everybody. They were known for the filing cabinets. Your papers, please. You have the wrong visa. This is a transit city to go by the city. You need a visa to go through Berlin. Constant. So it was a society, and this is where it's going to go. In reading up in the Stasi to do this vlog that all 10 of you will enjoy, I'm amazed by how much Europe and America is now willingly kind of converting to a self-imposed Stasi state now. I don't mean just the tired stuff about Snowden warning us about high tech. We all know there's no privacy with that. I'm just talking about day-to-day life now. Nobody can take a joke. In a sense, it's good. Social justice is good, but now we've become a self-imposed Stasi state where we're just waiting for a celebrity or person to say something wrong. And there's definitely a war on the regular people, traditional people, the regular Americans, mom, pop, apple pie, run-of-the-mill Americans, the deplorables, if you will. It's very Stasi-like, the way they be like, this is a humanistic society and we don't do anything wrong here. I think that they didn't admit to crime, similarly to as it was in the Soviet Union, or the organs. That's what also the Stasi and the KGB, the KGB had the organ countries, Poland, Cuba, and all the other countries at their disposal. So people forget now they controlled a considerable amount of the entire globe, really. There were battles for supremacy in Africa. People forget how bad the Cold War was in general. The war in Vietnam, and then the U.S. paid them back with Afghanistan. In Korea, the Russians were working behind the scenes. There were air battles. They had the honchos. they shot down a lot of U.S. planes. Arguably, the U.S. lost that one. Arguably, they lost in Vietnam, unfortunately. I think they could have won both those fights with relative ease, but that's another vlog, of which I can get into even more trouble than bitching about the Stasi. Yeah, I mean, you know, of course they've denied it. There's a considerable popularity for the left in the U.S., and I think there's a certain kind of person that would like to impose their willpower in the form of a Stasi-like country. The United States has now become Stasi-land. We pump ourselves up and brag about how free it is here, but it's going away. The First Amendment. Does even talk about pulling the First Amendment. Wow, I'm really drifting. But yeah, that's that. In thinking about Stasi and the world that that they made, can definitely rent that movie, The Lives of Others. It's a pretty good example of what people were going under. Which reminds me, they've never done a real good movie about the Solidarity movement. That's interesting, that I know of. But anyway, back to the espionage. So, I think what I'll do is I'm going to stop this one, okay? And so I gave an idea of what it was like in the GDR. For people now, let me. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'll ramble on a bit. I'm going to separate the second part I want to say about, because I don't bother to edit these. So you know, if people get bored of this, you can go to my next one. All right. Yeah, this vlogging's harder than I thought. Anyway, it's a Marcus Wolf. Yeah, he said he didn't come upon Putin. Great spy master. So stay tuned, and part 2 I'm going to be talking about the revenge of the Western security, the Western intelligence agencies, and more on the Stasi. Okay, stay tuned for part 2.